ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 21, Conversation between Manu and Kardama. So, Kardama Muni is a different personality. Manu is a different personality. Sometimes we may just mistaken between Manu and Muni, right? So, this is conversation between Manu, who is Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu of this day of Brahma. Currently, we are in the Vaivasvat Manu and Kardama Muni. Okay. So here Kardama Muni is glorifying the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has appeared here. So he's offering prayers to Supreme Lord. Yesterday, there was a very cowardly attack on the Indians. To call Indians will be will not be a right statement. It was on the Hindus, and we dedicate our today's reading to the bereaved families of this. The literally 28 people were killed, and we sincerely pray for all of them that whatever best for their upward spiritual journey, let it happen to them by the mercy of the Lord, and also to the family members that they will receive the strength and determination and courage to move ahead in the life and take to this loss in a. So we will dedicate our reading to all these personalities today. Text 15. तथा स चाहं परिवोढुकाम समानशीलां गृहमेधुधेनुम् उपेयिवान्मूल अशेषमूलं दुराशया कामदृगाङ्ग्रजिघ्रजिभ्रस्य. Translation.
Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. Purport. In spite of its condemning persons who approach the Lord for material advantages, Kardama Muni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, "Although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition." The phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. The similar natures of the boy and the girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriage takes place without such consultation, and therefore, soon after the marriage, there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives, but nowadays it is a very difficult task. Kardama Muni wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of a desire in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. Before marrying, one should select a wife of like disposition and not be enamored by so called beauty or other attractive features for sense gratification. In the Bhagavatam, 12th canto, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, marriage will be based on the consideration of sensual life. As soon as there is deficiency in sensual life, the question of divorce will arise. Kardamamani would have asked his benediction from Uma, for it is recommended in the scriptures that if anyone wants a good wife, he should worship Uma. But he preferred to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it is recommended in the Bhagavatam that everyone, whether he is full of desires, has no desires, or desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. Of these three classes of men, one tries to be happy by fulfillment of material desires. Another wants to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. And another, the perfect man, is a devotee. He does not want anything in return from the personality of Godhead. He only wants to render transcendental living service. In any case, everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he will fulfill everyone's desire. The advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. Hare Krishna.
Kardama Muni, frankly expressed why he's worshipping the Supreme Lord. Therefore, so what is this therefore? Therefore, here is your lotus feet, this is the previous verse, which are the true vessel for one to cross over the ocean of mundane nescience. But only the people deprived of the real intelligence ask for trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses. And in spite of this, now therefore, I am desiring to marry a girl of like disposition. The word here is samanashila. And so that this girl, the wife, would act as grihameda dhenu. Okay, the wife here is compared to the surabhi cow, grihameda dhenu, right? So sometimes there are certain paragraphs where sometimes there may be like the phrase may come like less intelligent, this or that. So these are the counters. The same scriptures they will glorify the woman as a class, and Prabhupada very beautifully writes the purport, right? Who will prove to be the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that in spite of condemning the persons who approach the Lord for material advantage, Kardama Muni expresses his material inability and desire before the Lord. Now, one thing is to understand the philosophy on the intellectual platform, and another thing is to realize the philosophy on the practical platform. This is very important to know. So Kardama Muni very well knows that the Lord should not be approached for something trivial or material. But here he says that, frankly, my dear Lord, I am unable to let go and therefore I am approaching you for this. And Prabhupada says here, what is most important word here is samanashilam. Samanashilam means the like disposition. The phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of the similar dispositions were married, and thus they were united to make them happy. This is very important. And how you will know Samanashila or not, that will be based on, Prabhupada says the parents in India, they used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there is the factual union on the psychological conditions. This is very important statement. Recently, we have a couple of devotees who are very deeply studying Jyotisha Shastra and everything. And we cannot stress the importance of matching the Kundali before, before going for the marriage. It's very, very important. Of course, if you are already married and, if it is without any of this match, then, this, let this go simply. But it is very important to match the Kundali. Why? Because, see, the idea here is, many times people laugh at Jyotisha. They say that, is it a Shastra really? But some years ago, when I started studying data science, and with just three data points, birthplace, birth time, and birth date, the phenomenal predictions. Now I'm into the predictive modeling. And in predictive modeling, what happens is that you will have like 1 million data sets, and you try to find out the relation between the inputs and the output, X and Y, and you come up with one equation. With million data set point, you try to come up with one equation to make one or two predictions based on that equation. Now here, astrology is so powerful that just with three data points, a genuine astrologer, now this genuine astrologer is also very important to know, can make phenomenal predictions. All they right? No, they are not all right. No science is all right. In fact, whatever we study as a science and the law, like Ohm's law and law of gravity 9.81, these are all regression based final figures that we settle to. Nothing is like nothing is like per se the law as a law. No, these are like you do a lot of experimentation, generate a lot of results, do some regression analysis, come to a reasonable number which will be generally okay, and and then you just publish it saying that this is my law. Now just three data points, and so many things can be very nicely predicted. So therefore, Kundali match is very important. Now the other extreme of this is person becomes so dependent on Jyotish that he just says that nothing in is my hand. The person becomes karma mimamsa. That everything is decided. In Marathi we have a saying, "Asel hari, deil khatla vari." That if God is there, everything will come to me. That is not the point. Jyotisha is the tool to activate, to activate one's action. That is very important, to activate oneself. And here, especially before the marriage, Jyotisha is recommended, especially before taking some important decisions in our life, or one can always get some indication from the Jyotisha. Who is going to make the decision? After consulting Jyotisha, we only have to make the decision. You cannot outsource the decision to Jyotishi, saying that, Baba, you take decision for me. No. We only have to take decision. We have to take responsibility of the decision, but at the same time, we can make at least odds in our favor. Right. So that is called as educated guess. So Jyotisha is more educated guess, and which comes from the part of the Veda, this Jyotisha Shastra. So there is importance of horoscope, and it should be, again, it should not cover our devotional service, because we know many people, even devotees, they get so carried away with Jyotisha that for everything they will just consulting Jyotisha. That is not the point. So there has to be a very healthy balance. One extreme is complete neglect. Another extreme is complete dependent on the Jyotisha and anything like the Jyotisha, Sangita, music, Ayurveda, yoga, and so many other things. Vastu Shastra. Anything I'm missing? Sanskrit. Okay. So there has to be a healthy balance between both this. But one has to take advantage of Jyotisha, the horoscope. Prabhupada says, and traditionally, Indian divorce rate was much lesser compared to the modern, they love at first sight, divorce at first fight kind of a civilization. And this is the importance of Samana Shileshu. Next, Prabhupada says, the wife of like disposition is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. Right, spiritual advancement. It's very important. Material advancement. The role of wife is very important. In fact, astrology says that the man is considered fortunate And for a woman, or the woman is considered fortunate, both, it is like it is written in only one gender. If he has a good wealth, good sons, and very good wife or very good husband. And of these three, Prabhupada says, having a very good wife is considered to be most fortunate. Right? So this is very, very important. So what is important is to follow the samskaras that are coming through generations. Otherwise, we are seeing, so many different news these days keep coming. Somebody ran away with somebody else. How the lady killed the husband, and this happened, that, and this is Kali Yuga. Things are going to go astray in a big way later years. But the point is, we have to ourselves follow samskara, and we have to meticulously award these samskaras to our children. Right? This is very, very important. Otherwise, dampatya abhiruchir hetu. In Kali Yuga, the dampati life is simply based on the consideration of the sensual life. And when there is some deficiency in the sensual life, immediately there is separation. So Prabhupada says, there is importance of wife and importance of husband. Samana sheleshu griha dharma medhenum. Then Prabhupada says, Kardama Muni, generally there are devatas for getting good husband, good wife, and everything like that. In the second canto, we have already studied that. Okay, if you want to have wealth, go to Kubera. If you want this, go to him. If you want a good wife, one should worship Uma. If you want a good husband, the girl should worship Lord Shiva. And that's why you will see the Kumarika doing Haritalika Vrata, this and that, right? This. At the same time, Bhagavatam says, Akamo sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So Prabhupada says here, although Kardama Muni, being very knowledgeable, he would have approached Uma Devi for getting a good wife, but he approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because any desire one may have, akama, mokshakama, sarvakama, better approach the Supreme Lord. And there is a distinct advantage in worshipping the Supreme Lord. And that advantage is that even if one has a desire for material enjoyment, when one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee. And there will be no more material hankering. We see in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, he says this after achieving the darshan of the Lord. He says, Swamin kritarthosmi varam nayache. I did all this tapasya for some broken pieces of glass. Now I attained the Divya Ratnam, your darshan. My dear Lord, I have no desire. But the Lord said, no, you may not have desire, but I have to give you benediction. Otherwise, people will feel not to approach Vishnu because your desire only goes away. Like that, a very light discussion is between Dhruva Maharaj and the Supreme Lord there. So here, Kardama Muni approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 16. Prajapataste vachasādhishatantya lokakilayam kamahatonubaddaha aham cha lokanugato vahami balim cha shukla nimishaya tubhyam. Translation?
Translation: O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you who are eternal time. Purport. In the Katha Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Lord is the leader of all living entities. He is their sustainer and the awarder of all their necessities and desires. No living entity is independent. All are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme. All are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Vedic instruction is that one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader, the personality of Godhead. Vedic literatures like Isa Upanishad direct that since everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not encroach upon another's property, but should enjoy one's individual allotment. The best program for every living entity is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and enjoy material or spiritual life. A question may be raised, since Kardama Muni was advanced in spiritual life, why then did he not ask the Lord for liberation? Why did he want to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. It is therefore everyone's duty to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. The Vedas are considered to be the direct words of the Lord. The Lord gives us the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want, and at the same time, he gives directions for the modes and processes of abiding by the Vedas so that gradually one may be elevated to liberation from material bondage. The conditioned souls who have come to the material world to fulfill their desires, to lord it over material nature, are bound by the laws of nature. The best course is to abide by the Vedic rules that will help one to be gradually elevated to liberation. Kardama Muni addressed the Lord as Shuka, which means the leader of religion. One who is pious should follow the rules of religion, for such rules are prescribed by the Lord himself. No one can manufacture or concoct a religion. Religion refers to the injunctions or laws of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that religion means to surrender unto him. Therefore, one should follow the Vedic regulations and surrender unto the Supreme Lord, because that is the ultimate goal of perfection in human life. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry and live peacefully for elevation to the higher status of spiritual realization. Hare Krishna.
Next, Kardamuni began to pray. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities, Prajapatistu. And thus, under your tight supervision, the living entities are engaged in satisfying their various desires. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord is called as here the master of all living entities. He is the sustainer. He is the personality who awards the necessities and the desire. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadhati Kaman. This is from the Kathopanishad. And such a personality of Godhead, here he is instructing to enjoy to Kardama Muni. Srila Prabhupada quotes for the Ishopanishad, the Ishavastyam principle, Ishavastyam idam sarvam, yat kinchat jagatyam jagat. And therefore, the best program is for the living entity, Prabhupada says, is to take advantage from the directions of the Supreme Lord and enjoy the material life or spiritual life. Look at this point. Prabhupada writes here, enjoy material life or spiritual life. Right. Now Prabhupada writes a very amazing paragraph. This is very important. A question may be raised, since Kardama Muni was advanced in spiritual life, later we'll see what kind of personality Kardama Muni is. And in fact, what a powerful personality Kardama Muni is, and his son is going to be Kapila Dev himself. Kapila is incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Why he did not ask the Lord for liberation? Why did he wanted to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? This is the question, right? So Acharyas, they raise this question here, that in spite of seeing the Supreme Lord, why did he wanted to enjoy material life? And the answer is, we'll just go verbatim here. The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. It is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the directions of the Lord or the Vedas. So what it is said is that one has to lead the life very, very age appropriate. Right? It's very important. Age appropriate. I mean, something that it may not be very palatable. It can be debated as well. And that's why I'm not saying this is absolute what I'm going to speak. But it is also a point. Recently, I saw a video, 6-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl. She's explaining science of self-realization, very, very eloquent, beautiful English she's speaking. And, she's explaining death, what happens at death, and how the soul transmigration takes place. And, this was greatly applauded everywhere as such a child and speaking such philosophy. But somewhere, some of us, we were feeling that, it's a child at the age of 6 should be talking about life, contributions to the society, So instead of that, the child is hearing something from somewhere and picking up. Of course, no doubt, we say Kaumaram, Acharit, Pragyu and everything is there. At the same time, here we can see now Kardava Muni, after having darshan of the Supreme Lord, personally on an extremely advanced position, still, Prabhupada writes here, the answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. It is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to their present condition, but under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Tasmat Shastra Pramanam te. Karya Akarya Vyavasthita. It is not a whimsical enjoyment based on the Pramana of the Shastra. That is very important. But it is very important to have the conduct of our own conduct and our own, it has to be very age appropriate. Sometimes we see some children, again, this is slightly, of course, we always avoid any type of controversy, but this is a point I want to make somewhere. That, sometimes we see some children, 3-4 years of old, they are attending morning program since 4 o'clock in the morning in the temple. And, after morning program, Mangal Arti, Narsimha Arti, Tulsi Arti, everything is over. These children will be just running around in the temple. Just simply running around here and there. And we feel that, this is the time when they should be taking maximum rest to have a, not every child is Prahlad, right? And we should never under the impression that our child is Prahlad. Neither we should want to make our child as Prahlad. We cannot make our child anything, right? We can facilitate devotional service. We can pray for them, but the child will come with his or her own karma and they will grow according to his or her own desires. And we have to facilitate that. So this is important point that, age appropriate. Very important. So sometimes here in the previous verse, what a powerful it is. Just say, in the previous verse, Kardava Muni has thoroughly condemned people. He said, my dear Lord, you are the Chintamani, Prapanna Vardam, Ashu Vardam. And people approach you for flimsy material desire. And the very next verse he says, my dear Lord, but I am not on that platform of not asking you anything. I am just beginning my grahastha life. I need a good wife. Samana Shileshu. And therefore, please award me a girl. Now just imagine the Supreme Lord is standing in front of you. And what you are asking the Supreme Lord is give me a girl for marriage. Right? And Prabhupada says, this is very important. I mean, look at the context, look at the purport. And that's why this discussion is going on. Prabhupada says Vedas guide us gradually to be liberated from the material bondage. So even when we know, we may know Dukhalayam Ashashvadam, Smaranitya Nityata, knowing doesn't mean that you have to act the next day. That is very important thing. Knowing means, oh yes, I know now, but action will take prolonged period, right? Especially of this thing, not that, Prabhuji, I know chanting is important. I'm taking prolonged period to chant Hare Krishna. Let's not exaggerate the point here. One should become quickly devotee. But such a thing, which is especially to go against Pravritti Marg, it takes some time, right? And Prabhupada says that generally one may be elevated to the liberation from the material bondage gradually. And therefore, the best course is to abide by the Vedic rules, Tasmat Shastra Pramanante, and gradually elevate oneself to liberation. Otherwise, there is always a chance of coming back. Bhajan apakveshu athapate tato yadi. Right? So there is always a possibility. And therefore, it is important that one advances. Sometimes, we feel that, I am also gift to humanity or something like that. And we may want to do something which is abnormally different, but we are not gift to humanity, right? So we should lead. We are not Srila Prabhupada, frankly. We are not some very, very empowered personality like other personalities like Radhesham Prabhu or Gaurang Prabhu or Gaurang Darshan Prabhu or Brajabihari Prabhu or Gaur Gopal Prabhu or somebody like that. We should know our limitations. We should be very consistent. We should be very relentless. At the same time, one should have patience so that one will be gradually elevated to the platform of liberation. Kardava Muni addresses the Lord as Shukla. Very beautiful word now. Shukla. So Prajapati, one address, another address is Shukla. Shukla means the leader of the religion. One who is pious should follow the rules of the religions, and such rules are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada says Dharma comes from the Lord. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. And one should follow the Dharma. And thus one should live a life of piety follow the regulative rules and regulations, marry, and live peacefully for the elevation to the higher status of spiritual realization. Right? Very, very beautiful purport Srila Prabhupada writes here. So once again, before concluding, sincere prayers for the departed souls and the families of those who are suffering yesterday's, very Nrishans attack on Sanatana Dharma. We pray for them. Let's keep them in our prayers. Let's resolve to do something. There are many things that we can do. Right? We can be conscious in our buying. We can be conscious in our, so two specific things are, Vamsha Vriddhi and, it is very important. So at least those who are in that phase, we always recommend. Hare Krishna. So we'll conclude here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanapranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.